Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking, well, a bit of a dramatic shortcut actually, straight through millennia of thought to the source of so much Western foundational wisdom, Socrates.
Yeah, we've gathered some key maxims, drawing from Socratic maxims on the examined life.
And our goal today really is to give you a kind of actionable blueprint,
Yep.
something for living well, drawn from these ancient ideas, but, made relevant fast.
Exactly. It's not just about reciting history. We want to distill this wisdom, find insights that actually cut through all the noise of modern life.
Mm-hmm.
We're aiming right for the core of the examined life. And frankly, that's probably harder now than it was back in ancient Athens with, well, everything vying for our attention.
Right. And where else could we possibly start but with, the statement, the one that defines his whole philosophy, the maxim he literally died for.
You mean the unexamined life is not worth living?
Exactly. It's just,
Mm.
it hits you immediately.
It does. And what's so striking is how radical it is. It's really an ultimatum, isn't it?
Totally.
Socrates was basically arguing that if you just drift through life, if you don't actively reflect, constantly question your values, your motives, why you believe what you believe, well, you're essentially just taking up space.
Just existing, not living.
Precisely. Not truly living.
And the fact he didn't back down, even facing death,
Yeah.
it really sets the stakes for this whole deep dive, right? If reflection is that crucial, where does it even begin?
Well, that leads us straight into probably the most famous paradox associated with him, the core of his approach to knowledge.
Would you?
Its capture in this maxim. I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing.
Okay, that feels counterintuitive, especially today.
Yeah.
We tend to think the smartest person is the one with all the facts, all the answers,
Right, the one with the loudest voice, maybe?
Yeah. So why would Socrates say true wisdom starts with admitting ignorance?
Because for him, that admission is the absolute bedrock of intellectual humility. The second you think you've got it all figured out, you stop asking questions.
You close yourself off.
Exactly. Learning stops. So true intellectual strength for Socrates was this self-awareness, the ability to say, okay, I have limits. My understanding isn't final.
It's like the antidote to dogmatism, or what psychologists now call the Dunning-Kruger effect.
That's a great modern parallel. Yeah, the illusion that incompetence breeds confidence. Socrates saw that centuries ago. Humility prevents that.
So humility is step one. You accept you don't know everything, then you can actually start learning. And that seems to demand a kind of fierce independence of thought.
Precisely, which is why he gives the directive. To find yourself, think for yourself.
Again, easier said than done today, right?
Mm-hmm.
With algorithms, social media, echo chambers, everything pushes us towards groupthink.
Yeah.
How do you actually do that? Think for yourself.
Well, Socrates would argue self-discovery is just impossible if you're only reflecting what's outside. We consume so much information, endless content.
Right?
But clarity, real understanding, only comes when you step back from that consumption and start asking your own questions, based on your own values.
Shifting from just watching to actually participating in your own thinking.
Exactly. It means challenging assumptions, even the popular ones, especially the popular ones, maybe. It's about finding your own internal compass.
Okay, so that focus on intentional, independent thought, it naturally leads to thinking about the quality of our thoughts and conversations.
Yes, and Socrates gave us a pretty sharp tool for sorting that out, a kind of hierarchy for conversation. Strong minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, weak minds discuss people.
Okay, I have to push back slightly here.
Mhm.
Is that distinction maybe a little too neat for today? Like, if I discuss a major election, is that just an event? Or am I automatically getting into ideas about power, justice, society?
That's a really important point. Socrates wasn't saying ignore the world around you. He was focused on the intention, the level you engage at.
Okay.
If you're talking about the election like it's gossip, who won, who lost, who's to blame, then yeah, that's lower on his scale.
Right, just the surface level.
But if you use that event as a springboard, a case study, to really dig into the underlying principles, the nature of democracy, say, or media influence, or human behavior under pressure, then you're elevating.
You're discussing ideas through the event.
Exactly. Seeking the universal within the particular. Moving past the noise to the fundamental concepts.
That makes sense. It's an instruction to aim higher in our discourse. So if we manage that, how do we keep learning, keep growing those strong minds. He had that beautiful metaphor for education.
Ah, yes. Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel.
I love that one.
It really captures the Socratic method, doesn't it? The goal isn't just passive absorption.
Like pouring facts into an empty head.
Right, that's filling the vessel.
Yeah.
It treats the student like a container. But kindling a flame that's active. It's about awakening curiosity, sparking passion, encouraging discovery from within.
It explains why just sitting through lectures often doesn't stick, but getting involved in a project or having a real mentor,
Hmm.
that can change everything.
Because it taps into internal motivation, not just external information.
So the best teacher isn't the one with all the answers ready to go.
No, it's the one who lights that fire in you, makes you want to find the answers yourself.
And the spark, the very start of that fire, just basic curiosity.
That's what he believed, which is why he also said, wonder is the beginning of wisdom.
Simple, but profound.
Totally. If you lose that ability to be surprised, to ask, wait, why is it like that? About things you normally take for granted, you lose the engine for learning.
Every big breakthrough, scientific or philosophical, starts with that sense of wonder, that quest.
Exactly. Not with a prepackaged answer.
Okay, so if wisdom starts with humility, is fueled by wonder. Let's shift to what Socrates thought wisdom was for. He made this incredibly strong link between knowledge and morality.
He did. A really profound, maybe even controversial, ethical claim. He stated it very clearly. The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance.
Wow, okay, that's a huge claim, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems to suggest nobody is inherently bad, just
Yeah.
misinformed,
Yeah.
ignorant.
That's essentially it, yes, and it's absolutely central to his worldview.
Did the sources elaborate on why he believed that?
They do. His thinking was that when we do something wrong, it's always fundamentally a mistake, an error in judgment based on incomplete knowledge.
Like a miscalculation?
Exactly. He believed that if we truly understood with absolute clarity that an action would lead to the worst outcome for ourselves or others, we simply wouldn't choose it.
So all wrongdoing comes from some kind of deficit. Ignorance of consequences or what truly matters, or even ignorance about ourselves.
That's the idea. Which means the fight against moral failure, against evil, if you like, is fundamentally a fight against ignorance.
That completely reframes things like, well, like deliberate misinformation campaigns we see today. Spreading lies isn't just politically problematic.
In the Socratic view, it's a deep moral failing. It's actively perpetuating the root of all harm, ignorance.
So when you see harm in the world, Socrates would say, trace it back. Find the misunderstanding, the lack of insight at its core.
And the fight for a better world becomes the fight to spread and embody genuine knowledge, true understanding.
Okay, and while he's focused there on this grand moral equation, he was also intensely practical about personal happiness, wasn't he? Especially around contentment and desire.
Oh, absolutely. He had a very clear-eyed warning about the trap of always wanting more. This maxim sums it up. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have.
Right, the old grass is always greener problem.
But it's deeper than that. It speaks directly to what modern psychology calls the hedonic treadmill.
Ah, the idea that we adapt to good things really quickly.
Exactly. Socrates saw that desire isn't fixed, it just moves. You get the promotion, the bigger house, whatever it is you're chasing.
And for a little while, it feels great.
And then it just becomes the new normal. The novelty wears off, and the goalposts shift. You start wanting the next thing.
So chasing more never actually solves the underlying feeling of not enough. It just redirects the chase.
Precisely. So peace, real contentment, doesn't come from getting more stuff outside. It comes from an internal shift, recognizing what is enough.
Cultivating gratitude, maybe? Taking stock?
Yes. The examined life involves appreciating what you have. Gratitude, philosophically, transforms your current reality into a state of perceived abundance. It's an internal adjustment, not an external acquisition.
Okay, so knowledge fights ignorance on the moral front. Contentment comes from internal gratitude. Let's wrap up with how Socrates thought we should apply this inner work to the world outside. How we interact with others, compassion and change.
Right. And there's one maxim that feels like a universal guide for just being a better human to other humans. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle.
It's beautiful and feels very relevant today. But why did Socrates, with his focus on logic and rigorous examination, emphasize something seemingly soft, like kindness?
Because judgment is a form of ignorance. When we judge someone solely based on what we see their actions, their reactions, we're making a decision with incomplete data. We don't know their full story.
We're assuming we know, when we really don't. Back to humility again.
Exactly. Kindness, in the Socratic sense, is an act of intellectual humility. It's acknowledging, I don't know what unseen burdens this person is carrying, what struggles they're facing behind the scenes,
So it forces you to pause your snap judgment.
and choose empathy instead, to recognize the limits of your own knowledge about their experience.
That shift from focusing inward on self-improvement to outward with compassion.
Yeah,
It leads perfectly to the final challenge, doesn't it? About making a real difference.
it does. If we genuinely want to impact the world, Socrates gives us a very clear starting point. Let him who would move the world first move himself.
Ah, the ultimate call for integrity, maybe?
I think so. It's the prerequisite for any kind of effective leadership or meaningful change. It's so easy to look outward, isn't it? To demand changes in systems and politics and other people.
Yeah, pointing fingers is always easier.
But Socrates reminds us that the most complex, most challenging system to change is right here ourselves. Our own habits, biases, inconsistencies.
You can't credibly lead some big external revolution if you haven't even managed your own internal world. If you lack that self-awareness, that personal mastery.
True impact starts small. It starts with the hard work of personal improvement, of aligning your actions with your values. If you want to change society, first change yourself.
It requires that deep self-awareness, patience, integrity.
Before any external action can really be authentic or effective.
Okay. So for you listening, these maxims really offer a kind of complete framework, don't they?
They really do.
We've touched on the need for constant reflection, the power that comes from intellectual humility, why we need to elevate our thinking beyond just gossip or surface events.
And that fundamental idea that all real change, whether it's personal contentment or shifting the world, it has to start from within.
Right. And if we try and tie all those threads together, we circle right back to that central paradox we started with. Socrates insisted that knowledge is the only good, that fighting ignorance is the most critical task.
And yet, the very first step on that path to knowledge, to wisdom, is admitting, you know, essentially nothing.
It's this constant loop, isn't it? A cycle of knowing just enough to realize how much more there is to question.
Precisely. It never really ends.
So maybe the final thought we can leave you with today, building on all this, is something provocative to mull over.
Oh, okay.
If the fight against ignorance is the fight for a better world, and that fight requires constant effort,
Yeah.
how do you keep going? How do you sustain the drive to learn and advance, knowing that every step forward just reveals more of the vast landscape of what you don't yet know?
That's a deep one to chew on.
Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep. We'll talk to you next time.